to the Minister of Culture, Svitlana Yatsenko, Father Serhiy Dmytriev from Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Kyiv Patriarchate, and Svitlana Vorotylo, the civic activist volunteer, Oleksandr Melanchenko, co-founder of the NGO all-Ukrainian organization for helping the IDPs, and Roman Korniko, the president of Alliance Ukraine Without Orphans. So when you speak, please remind your name and who are you. The priest, Father Serhiy Dmytriev. Our today's briefing is dedicated to the problem of the orphans who are on the occupied territories. A few months ago, we were talking about our automobile train. We started from Mariupol and we went to Lugansk region, to Severodonetsk, and we did the monitoring about what is the situation with the children who need assistance. We visited more than 20 cities in ATO zone, and not in the every city we saw that volunteers do not send their assistance to such places as Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. And in 5 kilometers there could be an orphanage where no one comes to children and they need assistance.
Сегодня там работает священник.
Alexander Medvedev, Father Alexander Medvedev, the missionary, he works there and he is conducting the monitoring. And what would I like to draw your attention to, when people say that in the Donetsk region there are all the separatists only and non-patriotic people, that is not always true. We had one person with us was Ukraine. We had some singing group, and where there's Ukrainian song, the people welcomed this group, and the population is very patriotic, and they are helping to preserve peace. And because of that monitoring that we conducted on our territory, we learned about unstable situation on the occupied territory. And the next speaker, Maksym Potapchuk, will talk about that in more detail. One of the persons who's responsible for humanitarian assistance. I would like to give him the floor, and after the briefing I will be able to answer your questions.
Добрый день, Maksym Potapchuk.
Potapchuk, glory to Ukraine. We have been helping for quite a long time. We've been helping secretly. We deliver the food products, the clothes, the medicines. We are not hoisting any flags. We are not shouting everywhere that we are helping. We are not writing on packages. Rinat Akhmetov, we are not writing on packages the names of the MPs from the party of regions. We are helping secretly. Quite recently we have agreed to deliver the cargo to occupied territory to Perevalsk. In Perevalsk the situation is very unstable with food products, with clothes, with medicines. In the orphanage there are 127 children, autists, and we sent 13 tons of cargo, but we are tired of helping in silence. After we brought the cargo, immediately there were articles that in Perevalsk orphanage doesn't need anything, everything's fine there, they have all the food products. Lugansk and Donetsk People's Republics are helping them, but not Ukrainian side. We need to tell that. We need to shout about that. That these are Ukrainian side who helps. The Donetsk and Lugansk republics have to recognize that they have humanitarian disaster. The children are naked. They lack food products. They lack medicines. The teachers faint because of hunger. They have nothing to eat, but at the same time, the representatives of Lugansk Republic say that everything's fine. We're ready to render the hand of assistance, and we are rendering it, but we are rendering it silently without talking about ourselves. We're helping Donetsk and Lugansk regions. And my question is,
Mrs. Gerashchenko is responsible for providing humanitarian aid to the occupied territories. Why nobody monitors? Why nobody brings together volunteers who deal with those children and their problems? Why they don't identify the needs? Why nobody knows that in Horlovka there is no pacifiers in drugstores and pharmacies? Elementary pacifiers. I don't speak about the catastrophe with kids' food and no social payments, and children wear rags. They write letters, and it's horrible to understand the state they are in. We demand photo reports from our volunteers, and we look at pictures and pictures of those kids. Those kids are just awfully poor. They are thin, they are hungry, they are dirty. Why they don't monitor that situation? It's a pain to realize that they don't consult with volunteers, they don't consult with people who help locally. Recently, just 3 days, we collected 13 tons in 3 days. Activists from Horodysha town and activists in Cherkasy region. And they just agreed without the state, and they took that assistance to the occupied territory. There was nothing in the press, no articles, no pictures. But when they write articles that we don't help, that everything is fine there. So what are you doing to your citizens, dear representatives of DNR and LNR? Nobody will send the aid, and you say that everything is fine there, but kids are hungry. It's horrible. We have to speak about that aloud, and we should speak about that a lot. But they don't. They silence that information. I want to invite Svitlana Vorotylo from Horodysha, and who collected assistance, humanitarian aid in 3 days from the computer. Good morning, Svitlana Vorotylo, coordinator of volunteers movement in Horodysha, Cherkasy region. It happened that at some point I was called by volunteers from Kyiv, and we cooperated not only with volunteers from Kyiv but also from all over Ukraine. And they explained the problem Maksym mentioned. Maksym described. At my storage facility, I had about 5 tons. I told them, Seneca will give you that. But in 2 days, there was a call, and they told, take the truck with 10 tons. And it took me an hour just to call my colleagues in Korsun, and we got that cargo. We unloaded it, and Korsun-Shevchenkiv's volunteers from Korsun-Shevchenkivsk, with the support of state administration and district council, they loaded about 5 tons on the truck, and then in Zvinyhorodka, the self-defense did that. They brought about a ton of food. All the rest, what we had in the storage, that was loaded into the truck. But I would like to underline that we must not be indifferent, all of us. And to that, common patriots, pensioners, people responded to that. Because when I found out that we need what we need to do, and that we had no time, because there was a big problem, and I went to the meeting of the district council of Horodysha, and they didn't give me a chance to talk. I stopped deputies with my hands and voice, and I asked them to to listen to me. I explained a problem, what is needed. When in Korsun, the government, the authorities are with people, our head of administration, they have not responded to that. The second thing I did, I went to the radio and I made an announcement, and we working on weekends, on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We collected a great number of what was needed for children. I would like to thank volunteers from Korsun-Shevchenkivsky district, from Zvenigorodski, self-defense on Maidan, Pedurenko Igor, and Simshah Ludmila. I would like to thank Vilshana Special School, Special Boarding School, and to thank all who are not indifferent, and Zhurov, a deputy who heard me on the radio and he helped. I would like to thank all the patriots who are involved in this. I would like to think that people are strong, volunteers also. They will do everything possible to help, not only to children, because that is that what we did in such a short time. That's something new for us. We worked mostly for ATO. We provided food and clothing to our soldiers from Cherkasy region, from our district, and also we cooperate with all who need assistance. It's enough to call us. May I ask you a question? You told about 10 tons of aid. What was that? And why did you deliver it? All that assistance, we as volunteers, we are respected, and we have a lot of people with us, and we were concerned. We wanted that as aid to achieve the destination. 4 tons from Korsun-Shevchenkivsky, from Zvenigorodka, and the rest in Horodish. What's exactly? Like children's clothing, food, vegetables, beets, potatoes, sunflower oil, just some stuff for children, all what is necessary for that boarding school. So I believe that we did our task well, and then if there will be something else needed, we will do everything possible that assistance was sent to some concrete boarding school, or where to. That was to Perevalsk, a special boarding school, and with there are children with autism. We communicated with the principal of the school, and there was we were trying. We wanted to congratulate our soldiers with the new year and common holidays. And from Zvenigorodka, from self-defense, there was a truck, and also we put a ton of sweets, toys, fruits, and they achieved the boarding school. Thank you very much. Next. Executive Director of Second Front Charity Foundation. On the occupied territories, there are boarding schools for children, and they functioned before the conflict, and now there are some also illegal, unofficial boarding schools, and the kids. There are people who bring together people who are homeless, and when we hear that our government wants to help our boarding schools, question: you don't have any information about those illegal boarding schools. You don't know about their needs. It's great to deliver food, but now there is more important to clothing. We had a story when mothers. My father died a year ago. There was a social payments, everything was fine. But a month ago, the house was burned down. The kid doesn't have clothing, food. That's wonderful, but the kid would die. She's walking around and picking up potato peels, and there is, as my colleague told, there is a problem with pacifiers. And when I speak about humanitarian catastrophe, everybody looks at Donetsk, and they have shops, everything is fine. But Donetsk and Luhansk regions, there are lots of small towns and villages of miners, and there is nothing there. There were no pharmacies, and they have a problem with insulin, and children have a problem with, and also all people that have problem with to get medicine, and nobody monitors that information. To deliver food, that's great. The state is going to provide whole. What size? If volunteers have the list of kids and they understand their needs, the government doesn't have that. The government didn't contact any volunteer organization just to find out about the problem. And to say that we help, that's great. To PR, that's wonderful. Then volunteers face the problem. They will tell when we ask them to help us, somebody will tell us, and but the state is helping. So for volunteers, it was always easier to agree with the other side, and it's especially in public. If it's not in public, especially if it's about children, there will be transportation companies, and in 3 days you can find a car and you can decide on the route and you can deliver. We volunteers, we want to say to the government, just don't interfere, or ask us how to do it, because that is we are doing that. Or just don't interfere, because of PR and beautiful words, they destroy a lot. Like pre-front zone Russian Korotka, they delivered aid to Volkhovatka. Again, it's like our clients. We delivered the aid, and yesterday, and I asked them, so have you seen aid from Herashenko? Local people say that we win, we are winning. So I cannot say that we delivered a lot. And what I said, 2 tons of food for children. Those people don't have social payments there. They don't have work because that's the area of ITO. And children suffer very much.
Хотелось бы обратить внимание,
In addition to boarding schools and that are in a very, very bad shape, and it's very difficult to have contact with them because they are afraid of repression. The spontaneous boarding schools where children from the day of birth and older, and there are mothers with kids, but they have nothing, and there is no one to take care of them. As to boarding schools, we need to raise the issue about how to take them out from the occupied territories. I will interfere. You told a lot about you deviated from the topic of our briefing. Who is responsible for those children? Who are there? So the government. So as according to your words, the state should not provide assistance, right? No, it's needed, but not in words. But there is needed to have there is no need to have PR. Like we delivered, the more noise about delivering cargoes there, the more problems are there. Again, we turn to the discussion: who did what? No. The state, the government should negotiate, but they should not use PR. That they are doing that. The government. So the biggest problem from you to the government is that they do a little, but they speak a lot. Yes, because volunteers. We asked. We went to the ministry to help, and we heard from them. We don't know. It's difficult. We have a representative and advisor from the Ministry of Culture, and then we will ask what the Minister of Culture does. An assistant to the Minister of Culture, I can tell you. First of all, I would like to say that all children are ours, and this problem, we must discuss it. We must speak about it. We need to help children. There are a lot of children who need food and clothing, etc.
That is why I was also involved into that. That was our joint initiative to help this orphanage when we learned about it. To answer the question, what does the Minister of Culture do? Within our powers, we are taking care of children, but the IDP, the children of IDP, those who are on controlled territory by Ukraine. What is culture? And that is the moral state of children. These children saw horrors of war, and they're in depressed psychological state of mind, and we invite them to different events directed towards cleaning up, and we're inviting the servicemen of ATO to theaters. There's a program of the minister. We invite the servicemen to theaters, and they go there, and they that's like a treatment by arts. Is there a program of psychological assistance to children? That is also assistance. We're actively cooperating with the NGOs. There are NGOs who are taking care of the children of IDPs. We find out what their requirements are, and we are trying to help in what they need. On the occupied territories, unfortunately, we don't have such an opportunity to provide some cultural component there. As citizens, we join these initiatives like helping materially with food products and clothes. Melanchenko Oleksandr, the Committee on IDPs. We've also joined this assistance because these children are our children, wherever children are, whether these children are on the territory of Ukraine or on occupied territories, these are our children. The state cannot get there. The volunteers can go there and can help children and elderly people. And I see that this problem could be addressed in such a way. The state has to cooperate with the volunteers. The state has some organizational resources, financial resources, and they can use volunteers to take the products there. Volunteers can have information about who and where. And basically, this way we can address some problems of those children who are there. We can blame the state, but the state was not ready. Everyone believed that the territory will be liberated by September. But now the children need food. They need this food today, not the day after tomorrow.
Состоит в том, что нет единого
The whole problem is that there's no single coordination center of the state. Some separate activities of the state do not lead to a serious systemic result. The Ministry of Social Protection is doing it. Twice a week, volunteer organizations get together in the Ministry of Social Policy, and there's a working group. Maybe this working group has to be expanded, and those volunteer organizations who work in the zone of occupied territories should join this group. And the Cabinet of Ministers has been working on the budget. Well, and if the state finds how to interact with the volunteers, we will be able to resolve all the problems. This should be done. Some people say this should be done quietly, but other people are taking these food products and clothes on trucks with flags, and no one stops them. But our assistance is stopped.
Все-таки, что необходимо объединить усилия.
And also I wanted to say the example of Georgia. Georgians, well, the citizens of Abkhazia were made, there were surgeries made to the citizens who lived in Abkhazia, and that was done quietly. If they were talking about that, it would be impossible to render assistance to those citizens who live in Abkhazia. Sometimes the publicity hampers. Roman Kernik, the president of Alliance Ukraine Without Orphans. It's a pity that all these situations, in this situation, children are hostages of the situation. It is important not just to think about how to help them, how to put clothes on them, how to give them clothes, but we need to think about how to take children out of there, because children are on the territory where it's not the territory where it's quiet and peaceful, but just there's no food. But many of them are on the territories where their warfare is going on, and sometimes the children go to the front line to Ukrainian soldiers and they ask for some food. They walk on the minefields, and thank God there are no cases when people are killed because of that. But children go there because they need love and someone to take care of them. These children cannot be taken out of there, not just because the leaders of Donetsk or Lugansk republics do not let them outside. There are some children who have no status of the orphan, and without the permit of the parents, it is impossible to take these children outside of the zone of conflict. I'm happy that the ombudsman on children's rights is now in Ukraine, and that is the person who's here. And we hope that enough attention will be paid to that, to take children out of there. Children should not be made hostages. In all the regions of Ukraine, they receive children, and the Alliance Ukraine Without Orphans also receive a lot of children who are IDPs. The orphans, the children from just normal families where parents send away their children to save their lives. And we need to help children psychologically in their rehabilitation, because children are not just afraid of war, but sometimes they got lost in this world. They do not know who to believe, and we would like to thank Father Serhiy for being able to help these children together. And we say we're here on this territory, we are open, we cooperate with the service in the affairs of children in the city of Kyiv. And in Kyiv, they're hosting children everywhere where they can, in different centers of psychological rehabilitation. We just need to take these children out of of the zone. The children are just hostages.
I have a question to Maksym Potapchuk. Is it true, correct, that you blame the government and that on occupied territories they could send humanitarian aid, but they don't do it because they make PR, they don't cooperate with volunteers? Is it true? Or is it a physical opportunity from the government and not from volunteers and assistance to children on occupied territories? And a question to Kateryna Kyrylova. You spoke about those boarding schools, unofficial. Do you know where they are and how many of them and who is taking care of them? Before assisting to someone, you have to ask what. You have to monitor the situation. You need to advise, to get advice of volunteers. You need to know the size of volunteers. And from the cabinet of ministers, there is a cargo. They know. There is a cargo. It achieves the checkpoint of Eleanor and Dina. What happens after that? Is it physically possible to deliver it? We have this opportunity. We do it. So you say that the government doesn't do that because a lot of public servants, and they told that they are happy to do it, but physically it's impossible because so the cargo can go through, but they cannot control it, where it achieves, whom it reaches, etc. Can you help in public the government how to deliver humanitarian aid to occupied territories? We will meet representatives of the government who will speak about that and will advise how to do it better. Thank you. There were a lot of condemnations, accusations, but the government doesn't have such an opportunity. We understand that why they don't have it. That's why one of the solutions is that the government should cooperate with the volunteer organizations, good, real volunteer organizations, and the government should help them. Volunteer organizations will deliver the cargo and they will help and they will report. It's quite possible. That's what we're talking about. We want assistance from the government. You understand that these efforts of these people are not limitless. We are IDPs. We sometimes need assistance, and from the government we like to have financial support with petrol, trucks, volunteers could be responsible for organizing, but we need material assets from the state, because volunteers cannot feed and provide that number of kids, but the government has that opportunity to help at least a little bit, so in cooperation between the government and volunteers. How many times have you seen representatives of the government to discuss these issues, to agree on that? Well, I tell you that when the new Minister of Social Policy was appointed twice a week, there is a meeting with the volunteers. So that work is taking place, that not public work. To say it's difficult to do everything in a day, and the Ministry of Social Policy doesn't have resources to help. We need assistance from other ministries and agencies, and everybody understands that everybody was working on the budget, but I believe that we will solve this problem and we will start working on it. Every minute is important, and I understand that everything bad is bad, but we need to make the first steps, and people did it, and we helped 2 perevaz, but those 13 tons and perevaz, that's very little. I don't believe that we can deliver 130 tons, 3,000 tons, because that area needs more assistance. I want that assistance to go to children and to senior people. So let's start with children, step by step, and we'll move on. And we'll improve that work. Thank you. Kateryna, there was a question to you about non-official boarding schools. Boarding schools, unofficial, is not when children don't have parents. It's when children don't have an opportunity to feed their children. And in Perevaz there were 98 autistic, but now there are 123 locals brought other children, and they have no food for them. In Horlovka, there are 60 children in unofficial boarding schools, and in Kharkiv there is a group of 20, 30, and 15 children. Makiivka and in Donetsk, also there are such in the suburbs, and where buildings were destroyed and people don't have where to live. In Luhansk, also there are such settlements. So you see, volunteers, when they started to deliver them assistance to the aid, they started to believe that they would get it, and that nobody would suffer, because it's difficult, that people are afraid, and they're afraid to say anything officially, especially that they cooperate with the Ukrainian side. But groups started to communicate with us. There is near Mariupol, we have an official border close. How that does look? How does it look like? 60 children. Is there a building where they keep them? Or how? People receive children, sometimes 5 children, babies kept in hospitals, and mothers are taken care of, and people are trying to cooperate between themselves, and they're trying to help each other. And so it's not like a boarding school and where they have those 60 kids. It's all unorganized, and so people help each other. Local, and you cooperate with them, and they want Ukrainian assistance from Ukrainian government. Yes, we have names and their needs of those kids. What are their needs of those unorganized boarding schools? Food or what? Everything together. Food for them. Pacifiers, clothing, medicine, because they get sick, and there is no medicine in 80 area. Then in small cities, it's a big problem, and there could be a problem with paracetamol. Yes, we have to understand the problem in a concrete place. One sentence, because we need to have the next briefing. I want his recommendation to officials that they have powers even on the district level, and it doesn't matter whether they want or not, to help. When I came to the head of state administration, and in his office I told him to which city we could take it. He kicked me out from his office, and I told her that I will check what you are doing at your job. Even on such a level, the state public servants should represent interests of the state. They should listen and they should help. I don't speak about the big scale, but if we do it step by step, it would be a lot, especially if we know where we take this cargo and for whom. Volunteers are doing a great job, and I believe that volunteers, movement, and public servants will have some constructive dialogue, and will not stay on the stage of mutual accusations. Our next briefing will be in 1 minute. Thank you.